There's only 4 games left in the regular season. We're in the end game now. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. The playoffs are near. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game in the Week 15 slate. The bye weeks are officially behind us, and now it is a full sprint to the postseason. And last week, I went a respectable 9-5. These were the games that I got right and wrong. And on the season, I have a 141-66 record, bringing me to 365th place in the Pick'em League. And Iron Cam has officially been dethroned. There are now 4 people who are tied for first place with a 149-58 record. So a huge shout out to them. We'll see if I can get back into the action. I'm just 8 games behind. Yeah, it's probably not going to work out well for me. Before we dive into predictions, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to you all because we just hit 944,000 subscribers yesterday. And so we are just 6,000 away from the big 950, which we are hoping to get before the end of 2025. And then in January, which is our craziest month of the year, it'll be a full sprint to try and get that million. So feel free to subscribe. No sponsors here. Always a free show. Free to subscribe. Thank you so much. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, we got an NFC South matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons, yeah, things are not going very well. I have to imagine, and also Falcons fans are deeply imagining that there's going to be some head coaching changes, there's going to be some personnel changes in the offseason because things have not been going well for Atlanta. A season where there was a lot of hope, where it was kind of going to be an evaluation year for Michael Penix. Unfortunately, he's done for the rest of the year, and we got Kirk Cousins. And the Falcons, while competitive in the first half, just got their ass kicked by the Seattle Seahawks. And so now, the Falcons, they're already eliminated from the playoffs. But fans still have to watch Kirk Cousins on primetime.
I'm done. Cut the show. I'm done. Take me off.
I'm so very sorry. They're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just lost to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have been the thorn in the side for both the Panthers and the Buccaneers this season. And the Buccaneers, yeah, that's a bit disappointing. The good news is that as of recording right now, it seems like Mike Evans will be good to go for Thursday, so that will be a huge addition to their offense. They already got Bucky Irving back, and while Baker Mayfield still is recovering from injury, and he is still playing, though I can't imagine it feels too good, I feel like the Buccaneers are getting healthy at the right time, which is what I've been saying the past couple of weeks, but of course then they lost to the Saints. And now going up against the Falcons, these two teams had phenomenal matchups last year. And who knows if we'll see another classic on Thursday Night Football. Again, it's been an underwhelming season for the Falcons, and there will be no Michael Penix, but hopefully they at least put up a fight to make an entertaining game since we only have 3 Thursday Night Football games left. But here, I am going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get the win at home. Like I said, it just feels like they're starting to get healthier, which can only spell trouble for the Atlanta Falcons. The Buccaneers are also trying to hold on to their very slight divisional lead. They have some big games coming up with the Carolina Panthers, as they're going to have to play them twice before the season is over. So we'll see if they're going to be able to close out the NFC South. But for this game, I got the Buccaneers winning. Then you got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Chicago Bears. The Browns, yeah, they lost to the Tennessee Titans last week, who got their second win of the season. Myles Garrett got his sack, and then they were not able to sack Cam Ward the rest of the game. Do you know how easy it is to sack Cam Ward behind that offensive line? Shedeur Sanders had a 3-touchdown performance, was playing really darn well. Then they took the ball out of his hands and made Judkins throw it, and that did not go well. So yeah, the Browns, they lost this game. They're another squad that it seems like more fans are calling for Stefanski's firing, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a change, but at the same time, who knows what the Cleveland Browns ever do. They're going to be taking on the Chicago Bears, who, after losing to the Packers last week, I'm sure this is how the Bears have spent their last few days.
That the power of Christ compels you! That the power of Christ compels you! That the power of Christ compels you!
Oh, that was such a fun win on Sunday. But the Bears going from the number 1 seed in the NFC all the way down to the 7 seed, because that's just how damn competitive this NFC conference is this season. And the Bears, they put up a really good fight against the Packers, and I'm really looking forward to that primetime game a week from Saturday. But really, after a first half where they couldn't get anything going on offense, they really started to dial in the second half, eventually tying the Packers, but Caleb Williams throwing that game-sealing interception at the end ended it. And for the Bears, they still have it all in front of them. They do have some tough games going up, like against this Browns defense. I think it is going to be a challenge. The good news is that even though they allowed a bunch of pressures on Caleb Williams, he was only sacked 1 time against the Packers, and they got a pretty damn good pass rush. And if the Titans can negate anything that the Cleveland Browns are doing, I have to imagine the Bears are going to be able to do that as well. So here, while I would love Cleveland to get an upset win, I am going to go with the Chicago Bears to get the W here. And who knows, if the Packers lose, the Bears can find themselves near the top of the division once again. I pray that that does not happen, but then again, prayer did not save the Bears last week. Then you got an AFC North matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens, they lost against the Steelers, and I would like to blame them because the Ravens have not been playing very well, and I still think that that matters because they didn't play great against the Steelers, but they had a few things working against them, primarily the officials. But for the Ravens, things have been real bad. And talking about coaches that could be on potential hot seats, Harbaugh, I think, is one of those coaches, though I think some of that pressure is coming more from the fan base and potentially within the team than actually from the front office. But we'll see if they make any moves in the offseason. And the thing is that the Ravens season is technically not over. They can win out a bunch of these games, and if the Steelers drop a couple games, the Ravens could wind up winning this division because the AFC North is not very good. They're going to be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who once again lost a close game with Joe Burrow back under center.
Something very familiar about all this.
Some things never change. But the Bengals were doing a really nice job in that first half against the Bills. Joe Burrow was spreading the ball around. He had that phenomenal throw to T. Higgins for a touchdown. And then the second half happened. You had Benford making phenomenal plays. Joe Burrow throws 2 interceptions. And ultimately, the Bengals lost what was pretty much a must-win game. And for the Bengals, the only hope that they have is that you're going to have the Ravens and the Steelers lose a bunch of games. And the Bengals basically need to win out for them to have a shot at the division. And considering how poorly the Ravens have been playing, and that offense has been... it has not been good. I think the Bengals should be able to do enough to get this win. The Bengals defense has not been atrocious these past few weeks, and while I do know that they allowed the Bills to get back into that game, though Joe Burrow did throw 2 interceptions and one was a pick 6, I don't think the Bengals are playing like the worst defense in football right now, which, trust me, that's not high praise. I feel like they're just like 1 or 2 steps above being the worst defense. So here, I think the Bengals should be able to get a win. If Joe Burrow is able to air it out, I think they should be able to do enough. The only concern I have is if the Ravens start utilizing Derrick Henry, they definitely can run all over the Bengals because they don't really have a great run defense. And with Trey Hendrickson not playing, that is a possibility. But yeah, if we're just going with momentum, I know both teams lost. I just got to go with Cincinnati here because I just do not believe in Baltimore right now. Then an AFC West matchup between the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers. That game on Monday night, I think, is the epitome of the 2025 NFL season. On all the drugs and nobody knows what's going on. You had 8 turnovers in that game. Justin Herbert, playing with a broken hand, got sacked 7 times, and yet they were able to come away with a win. And it was... I don't even know if it was a gutsy win. It was definitely a win. It was a gutsy performance by Justin Herbert, who, while it really wasn't shown in the stat sheet, dude, he was avoiding sacks like nobody's business and still wound up getting sacked 7 times. But the way that he was navigating the pocket, he was stiff-arming defenders. Justin Herbert deserves nothing but the best. Unfortunately, he just can't get that from his O-line right now. They're going to be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who lost on Sunday night at home against the Houston Texans in a very winnable game in that second half. Whether you look at play calling and going for it on 4th down on their own 31, whether you have drop passes from Rashee Rice or Travis Kelce, the Chiefs have just not been in sync for the majority of this season. And now, Chiefs fans are finally facing the music that this could be the end of their dynasty. And for the Chiefs, it is still not impossible for them to get into the postseason, though they're not going to be winning their division this year, which is the first time in a cajillion years that that's going to happen. This is a must-win game against the Chargers. As the Chargers are currently sitting at the 5 seed in the AFC, they are trying to hold on for their hopes of not only winning the AFC West, but just trying to hold on to their spot in the postseason. And considering the Chargers have a really tough schedule coming up, they're going to have to go up against teams like the Broncos, like the Texans. This is kind of almost a must-win game for the Chargers as well. One, they could potentially put the nail in the coffin for the Chiefs' playoff hopes, but two, they also want to keep the Chiefs out of the playoffs because if the Chiefs wind up winning this game, they will have split the series, and the Chiefs, if they wind up winning out and the Chargers lose a few of those games, the Chiefs could replace LA in the postseason. And I think what this is going to come down to is, can the Chiefs generate pressure against that really bad offensive line that LA has? Chris Jones was playing like a monster on Sunday night as he was constantly disrupting the play in the backfield, especially in that second half. And I feel like if he's able to do that once again, the Chiefs have a really good shot at winning this game. The problem is that the Chargers defense has been playing pretty darn well too, and the Chiefs offense, lackadaisical to say the least. So I think this is going to be a potential low-scoring game and a really good matchup. And oh God, it's do or die for the Chiefs. The Chargers, it's pretty much a must-win. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs to get the win here. And listen, Chargers, I picked against you. I thought the Eagles were going to be able to beat you on Monday night, so maybe this is going to be good luck. But I just feel like the Chiefs defense might be able to generate a bunch of pressure against Justin Herbert. But hell, the Chargers won even though Justin Herbert got sacked 7 times on Monday night. Maybe they're able to make it happen here. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City to get the win, because if they don't, they can kiss their season goodbye. Then, another great divisional matchup. We got the Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots. The Bills able to rally back against the Bengals in that second half off some great defensive plays. Christian Benford is going to get a statue built in Buffalo after that game. And Josh Allen just put on an amazing performance, specifically in that second half, to not only keep their playoff hopes alive, but also their hopes of winning the division. However, if the Bills lose this game on Sunday, the Patriots will clinch the AFC East. So, Bills, you can't play scared.
Afraid, are you?
No, sir.
See through you. We can. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
They're going to be going up against the evil empire in the New England Patriots, who got to enjoy themselves a late bye week this past week. Drake May is in MVP conversations, and it's just been one hell of a year for New England. The last time these two teams faced off, the Patriots were able to get a big-time win, and while this could definitely be another primetime game, where this can be seen in the early slot here in Foxborough, and this should be a really fun game. While the Bills have definitely been inconsistent over this season, their run game at times can be explosive, unless James Cook is fumbling it into the end zone. And of course, Josh Allen can turn it on at any time. I think one of the keys for the Bills is going to be if Joey Bosa can play on Sunday. He's limited in practice, but they're potentially trending towards a return. So if the Bills are able to get back Bosa, that could potentially put some pressure on a Patriots O-line, which is a little beaten up right now. But Drake May has been playing phenomenally well this season. On top of that, you talk about the Bills' bad run defense. Henderson is a game changer. It'll be interesting to see if they shift more towards Stevenson or Henderson on Sunday. But here, I got to go with the hot hand. The Patriots have won 10 games in a row, and they don't look like they're going to be slowing down. This is probably the toughest game left on the Patriots schedule. And so I'm going to go with the Pats to get the win here, clinch the AFC East for the first time since 2019, and then we can finally say the evil empire has officially returned. Then, in a not-so-great divisional matchup, you got the Washington Commanders taking on the New York Giants. The Commanders. Talk about a tale of 2 weeks, huh? The freaking Commanders, they were a blocked pass away from beating the Broncos on Sunday Night Football, and then they got shut out by the Vikings.
Madness. Madness.
And it's just been a horrendous season for the Commanders. They went to the NFC Championship game this past season, and now they are not going to make the playoffs as they are already eliminated. Jaden Daniels got re-injured, and yeah, things are just not going well, and that defense is also not very good. So yeah, Commanders, they're down bad. They're going to be going up against the Giants, who were on a bye week last week. And hey, they're now the #1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. So congratulations, Giants, you did it. And I feel like for the Giants, they are going to be one of those teams to keep an eye on next year because they have a bunch of foundational pieces. I'm really optimistic about some players on their defensive line. We'll see what Abdul Carter is able to do next season. But on top of that, Jackson Dart, Scadaboo coming back, Malik Neighbors coming back. It really feels like this Giants team can take the next step. And at times, they've been super competitive this season. And this game, it's going to be interesting. Is Marcus Mariota going to be able to take over and have a performance like he did against the Denver Broncos? Or are we going to see the Commanders that we saw last week not score a single point against the Vikings? That's really going to determine who's going to win the game, because I originally was going to pick the Commanders, but I just don't really believe in them right now. It just feels like morale is all the way down. So I am going to go with the Giants at MetLife to get the win here. I just believe in Jackson Dart's ability to get it done. And if they're able to establish the ground game with Tyrone Tracy, I think the Giants should be able to get a win. But both these teams' seasons are over. And for the Giants, even if they lose, that works out too because they keep that #1 draft pick. Then you got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Raiders, they were able to make that a little bit more of a competitive game, but they got swept by the Denver Broncos this past Sunday. Geno Smith got hurt. Kenny Pickett came in and actually didn't look too bad. And yeah, it's been a disaster of a season, especially for that offensive line and just the offense as a whole for the Raiders, because they just do not look good at all. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, speaking of not looking good, their fans were hoping for a bounce-back game after that Black Friday loss, but instead, they watched Jalen Hurts have 5 turnovers.
Hurts, picked off, picked again, intercepted, down the middle, and tipped and picked.
What a horrific offensive performance for the Philadelphia Eagles. A game where their defense, they showed up. After having the Bears run all over them for over 280 yards, they did a nice job. They sacked Justin Herbert 7 freaking times. Ladd McConkey was a non-factor in that game, and yet the offense could not stop turning the ball over. And to be fair, 2 of the interceptions weren't really Jalen Hurts' fault. One goes off the hands of A.J. Brown. The last one is just a really good play by the Chargers defense. And of course, you had the 3 turnovers in one play in which Jalen Hurts did throw an interception, then wound up fumbling it. And so, yeah, that's just not going to look great on the stat sheet. And for the Eagles, they have now lost 3 games in a row. They blew a 21-point lead against the Cowboys. They got run all over by the Bears. And now losing a heartbreaker on Monday Night Football. Yikes. Things have not been going well. The good news, the Cowboys lost too, as they are their only competition in the NFC East. And the Cowboys, they're just trying to hold on to a prayer that they make the postseason. So the Eagles have a little bit of breathing room, but as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, you need to see this offense start to improve. The good news, they're going up against the Raiders, and so I think they should be able to win this football game. That defensive line may destroy whoever's quarterbacking for the Raiders this week because, yeah, that O-line has been pretty awful. So I'm going to go with the Eagles to finally get this bounce-back win, putting them in the win column and getting one step closer to clinching the NFC East. And from there, let's just see if they can make some noise in the postseason. Then you got a battle of the Jays as the New Jersey Jets take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jets, they lost to the Miami Dolphins, and Jets fans got to watch undrafted rookie Brady Cook under center. And yeah, it didn't go very well. The Jets really just couldn't get anything going against the Dolphins, and it has been a rough season for the Jets. I know expectations were already pretty darn low when they signed Justin Fields, but it feels like Jets fans are just looking towards April as they have a whole bunch of draft picks piled up, and if they can draft well, who knows, maybe they can be contenders sooner rather than later, though Jets fans have been hearing that for like the past, 2 decades. They're going to be going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were able to knock off the Indianapolis Colts last week. Daniel Jones did get hurt in that game, but the Jaguars, they played really darn well. Etienne was able to move the ball on the ground. Trevor Lawrence didn't throw any interceptions again. And the Jaguars are not only leading their division, but are currently sitting as the number 3 seed in the AFC. And honestly, as time goes on, I'm starting to feel maybe dark horse contenders here because the Jaguars, they have that explosive offense that can go off. Jacoby Myers has been a phenomenal addition to that offense. And when you have Etienne running well and Lawrence is not throwing interceptions, they can win a lot of football games. And going up against the Jets here, while the Jets have been feisty at times, even after they traded away Sauce and Quentin Williams, I have the Jaguars winning this game. It's being played in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are on a little bit of a heater here. And while they did blow out the Chargers, I misspoke yesterday and said that they got blown out by the Chargers. I was mistaken. That's when they got blown out by the Rams. The last time the Jaguars lost a game was against that really good Texans defense. The Jets are not the Texans defense. So because of that, the Glitter Kitties keep going meow. Following that, you got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Houston Texans. The Cardinals, they got their ass kicked by the LA Rams. Stafford throwing the ball all over them, Puka embarrassing them, and then streaming from the locker room when even asked not to. Blake Corum running all over them. And for the Cardinals, they've been involved in a ton of one-score games this year, and this was not one of them. And honestly, you just have to start feeling bad for Arizona. You're looking at coaching, you're looking at injuries as Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't playing, and Michael Wilson had a really nice game, but other than that, things are not looking good. They're taking on the Houston Texans, whose defense is rolling right now, picking up their 5th straight after that win in Kansas City.
Nothing stops this train. Nothing.
No! No!
And for the Texans, they've now taken the Colts spot as the 7 seed in the AFC, and the Texans still have their sights set on the AFC South. They could potentially still win that division depending on how the Jaguars finish the year, as the Jaguars have some tough games coming up after the Jets. And for the Texans, it really just comes down to their offense. Their defense, nobody is doubting them. Their secondary is good. Their pass rush is good. And not many teams are going to be able to move that football against this defense. And I've been saying now for the past few weeks, if Houston is able to make it into the postseason, I don't know who wants to play them. It's just really going to come down to how well that offensive line can block. Their running game has been inconsistent this year. Of course, they've had no Joe Mixon, and Woody Marks has been doing pretty solid, but I think it's really going to come down to CJ Stroud and how well he can operate behind that bad offensive line. And while I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit of a closer game, I do think that this Texans defense is going to dominate the Cardinals offensive line. So because of that, I am going to have Houston get a big win at home, not only keeping those playoff hopes alive, but hey, if they can win the AFC South and host a freaking playoff game, watch out. The Strouds are coming for you. Then you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers taking on the Denver Broncos. The Packers getting a big-time win over the Chicago Bears this past Sunday, keeping their perfect divisional record this season. Again, a major improvement for where they were last year when they won only one divisional game. And the defense just played really damn well. While they did only get 1 sack from Kingsley Enagbare, Micah Parsons had himself a really good game, had 8 QB pressures. They were constantly getting after Caleb Williams. And besides Keyshawn Nixon having a pretty tough start to that game, he wound up getting that game-sealing interception. So no harm, no foul, Keyshawn. Keep doing what you're doing, 2-5. And for the offense, besides that early interception, Jordan Love was near flawless on the day. Christian Watson had another big game. Jaden Reed returned. And they're going to need this offense to be firing on all cylinders as they go up against one of the best defenses in the NFL. That is the Denver Broncos. The Broncos throughout the entire season has had a phenomenal defense. Though their pass rush these past few games have not been as potent as you would like if you're a Denver fan, the Broncos, they've also won 10 straight games. And after knocking off the Raiders on Sunday, they are trying to hold on to that number 1 seed in the AFC. They are neck and neck right now with the New England Patriots. And this should be a pretty interesting game. I could see this being an incredibly low-scoring game because at times both offenses have been inconsistent, and at the same time, both pass rushes can get after the opposing quarterback. And so honestly, the way that I see it, this Grossi Perna Bowl could get ugly.
Keep this up, see what happens.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I will strike you down. I will strike you down. You want to strike me down? You're going out, dude. You're going to sleep.
Now, the last time the Packers played the Broncos, it was again in Denver, and Jordan Love threw a costly interception near the end of that game, and the Broncos wound up winning that game because Denver is a really tough place to play. And I think what this is going to come down to is if the Packers O-line can neutralize that Broncos pass rush. Of course, they also do have a pretty damn good secondary, and Pat Surtain is one of the best corners in the NFL. If Bo Nix can air it out, maybe he can take advantage of the Packers secondary, but we'll see how the Broncos offensive line is going to neutralize that pass rush of the Packers. They were able to handle teams like the Texans, and so they may be up for the challenge. And so I see this game being a close one. It could come down to a potential single field goal, and who knows, maybe McManus can beat his former team. But I am going to go with the Green Bay mother-loving Packers to get the win here. If the Packers O-line can block, I feel pretty damn confident in this offense. Josh Jacobs had a really good game on Sunday. Jaden Reed is back. Jordan Love is playing really great football. He's only thrown 4 interceptions all season. If the Packers are able to move the ball effectively and get into the red zone, we know that they can score. They're one of the best red zone scoring teams in the NFL this year, though the Broncos are not too shabby themselves. So I'm going to go with the Packers to get the win. I could definitely see this being like a 13-10 game, but yeah, hopefully the Packers win. Perna cries. And this is for all the victims of the curse wheel. Then, another phenomenal game this week. You got the Detroit Lions taking on the LA Rams. Both these teams coming away with big-time wins this past week. The Lions knocking off the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, in which they were firing on all cylinders. The Cowboys coming off those big back-to-back wins against the Eagles and the Chiefs. They just could not stop that Lions offense. Jahmyr Gibbs had multiple touchdowns. David Montgomery was running all over them, and it really looked like that Lions offense returned to form. They're going to be taking on the LA Rams, who, after suffering a hiccup against the Carolina Panthers, dominated the Cardinals on Sunday, looking pretty darn good, and now they're back in first place.
I look good. I mean, really good. Hey, everyone! Come and see how good I look!
As we mentioned, the Rams absolutely dominated on the ground, through the air, and Blake Corum, I know fans have been waiting for this guy to potentially break out. He had a sensational game on Sunday, and so if they can run the ball, Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, that already really good offense just got an additional layer and is going to be really damn hard to beat. Going up against the Detroit Lions, who have been dealing with injuries all year, I think where Matthew Stafford's going to be able to take advantage of his old team is in the secondary. Brian Branch is done for the year, Terrion Arnold is hurt, and so Matthew Stafford, who is having an MVP-like season, I think he could put up a ton of points when you have guys like Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. Lions fans remember Davante Adams, though I can see this being a very high-scoring game. I'm curious how Detroit's offensive line is going to try to neutralize the Rams' pass rush. If they're not able to do that, it could be a very long day for this Lions team. But here, I got to go with the Rams to get the win. I just think they're a more complete team on paper. On top of that, the Lions are dealing with a bunch of injuries, and it will be a fun showdown because it's Stafford versus the Lions again. But here, I'm going with LA to get the win, and if the Lions win, it helps the Packers, so I'm happy either way. Then another divisional matchup. You got the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Panthers got to enjoy themselves a bye week last week, and they have it all in front of them. They are in complete and total control of their destiny. While the Buccaneers right now are above them in their division, they still got to play the Bucs twice this year. And if the Panthers are able to win both those games, they're going to go to the freaking playoffs as divisional winners, which is really damn exciting. However, the Panthers lost this matchup against the Saints the first time around this season, and would especially like this win after the Saints beat the Buccaneers last week.
Fool me once, strike one. But fool me twice, strike three.
And talking about the Saints, for 2 weeks in a row, things have actually been looking pretty good. Tyler Shuck had another good game, especially on the ground this past week. Smythe has been a really fun story to follow as he's a brand new kicker to the NFL. He's been playing well. And the Saints have been able to pull off major upsets against the Panthers and, as I mentioned last week, against the Buccaneers. So the Saints, they are a feisty team. And considering that divisional matchups are all over the place this season, but let's be honest, every single game is all over the place, this is definitely not cut and dry. Are the Panthers going to be able to run this ball against the Saints defense? Is Tyler Shuck going to be able to put together another great performance? Through the air, he really didn't do a ton last week. Like I said, it was mostly on the ground. Can the Panthers defense neutralize that? All of these questions are going to determine who's going to win this football game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's another close game, and I could see it coming down to a field goal. But here, I'm going to say the Carolina Panthers get some revenge. I just think they've been playing pretty darn well, and considering some of their wins as of late, I think they should be able to take down the Saints. And if not, well, then Saints fans, you better start getting hyped for next season. Following that, you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Titans and Cam Ward got their second win of the season last week against the Cleveland Browns, but all anyone wants to talk about is Shedeur Sanders.
We're working for a better tomorrow. Today.
I can't believe it.
Oh, Mike.
I was on TV!
Did you see me? Cam Ward is out here doing his best, damn it. Cam Ward only getting sacked one time on Sunday, which is honestly a Christmas miracle. But the Titans were able to get that win. We talked about that 2-point conversion failure of the Cleveland Browns. You can talk about the Browns beating themselves, but hey, what else is new? But for the Titans, they no longer have the first overall pick in the draft because of this win, getting their second win of the season. And while that's probably not the best thing for Tennessee and their franchise, the fact that Cam Ward has looked as good as he has this year should give Titans fans a whole lot of optimism. Their run game looked really good on Sunday with Tony Pollard. Their offensive line did a really nice job, and they just looked like a completely different team. So if they could take some of that momentum and go into next season and they can draft well and get some free agents, who knows? Maybe we're talking about the Titans as a pretty successful team next year. They're going to be going up against the San Francisco 49ers, who also got to enjoy a bye week and moved up to the 6th seed in the NFC because the Packers were able to knock off the Bears. And the 49ers, they've been having a pretty wild season. The fact that they've had all these major injuries and are not only still competitive in a very competitive division in the NFC West, but hell, there's still an opportunity for them to get the 1 seed if things go absolutely crazy. They just need the Rams and Seahawks to start losing some football games. And being played in Santa Clara, I do think the 49ers are just a better team right now. Robert Saleh has really transformed that defense, even though they are missing Fred Warner and Bosa, and CMC is putting together a really great 2025 campaign. And if the same Titans team that just beat the Browns shows up, this could be a close game. But here, I just got to go with the 49ers. I think they're more well coached, and even with all their injuries, I just think they are a better football team. So here, I'm going to go with the 49ers to get their 10th win of the season. And God, I just hope they don't play the Packers in the playoffs. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Colts. Everything was going so well. The Indiana Jones memes were great, right? We were humming the theme. And then these last few weeks, they've been bad. Kingdom of Crystal Skull bad. No, Dial of Destiny bad. Daniel Jones getting hurt against the Jacksonville Jaguars. His season's over because of an Achilles injury. And now, not only have they lost their last 3 games, but they are currently out of the playoffs looking in. They still have opportunities to get back into the postseason, but things are not looking very good. So who do they turn to? 44-year-old Philip Rivers. And I have to imagine that Philip Rivers has been on the couch waiting 5 years for this exact moment.
There he goes. Rivers looking deep. Separation. Caught by Jackson.
So what do you think?
As of right now, we don't know who's starting on Sunday, but there is a pretty good chance that 44-year-old Grandpa Philip Rivers, and I'm not just saying that, he is a grandfather, will be starting against the Seattle Seahawks, God help you. And the Colts, they do not have an easy rest of the year. Their last few games are a nightmare, and it does not get much better going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Jonathan Taylor needs to have the game of his life, but they're going up against a really good defensive front, as the Seahawks were able to run away with it in that second half against the Atlanta Falcons. Their defense is pretty much back at full strength, and they are one of the best defenses, not only in the NFC, but in the entirety of the NFL. And being played in Seattle, yeah. The one hope that I think the Colts have is if they're able to force Sam Darnold to throw some turnovers. But I gotta be honest, if Philip Rivers plays this game, I am just so concerned for him. I imagine there's gonna be a lot of handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, but going up against this defensive front, it is not gonna be easy to move this football. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle here as the Seahawks try to reclaim their spot, not only atop of the NFC West, but also trying to go after that number 1 seed once again. Yeah, Seahawks, they get a win, and just be gentle with Philip Rivers. He's a grandpa. Then, for some reason, this is on Sunday Night Football, you got the purple incarnations of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings, taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Vikings, well, they got shut out by the Seahawks the previous week, and then they shut out the Commanders. What does this mean? I have no idea. But the good news for the Vikings is that J.J. McCarthy played his best game of his entire career. I know he hasn't played many games and that bar is really low, but he actually played really darn well. And for the Vikings, things have obviously not been going great this season. They were a 14-win team last year, and now they're not going to make the playoffs. And while they're technically not eliminated, things are not looking good. But mentioning the good news is that if JJ McCarthy can prove himself these last 4 games and continuously develop and progress, I think Vikings fans are feeling a lot better about their situation heading into the offseason than they did when JJ McCarthy was very much struggling. So even if they're competitive or JJ McCarthy's not turning the ball over, I just feel like this is somebody that you could potentially build the team around, because next year was going to be an evaluation year regardless to see if JJ McCarthy could be your franchise quarterback. Those questions are still up in the air. We'll see if we get some answers this week. They're going to be taking on the Dallas Cowboys, who were hanging on to those playoff hopes, but then suffered a tough loss in Detroit.
Somehow I got the feeling that didn't help us very much.
Their playoff chances are now in the single digits, and it hurts even more because the Eagles wound up losing their game, so they weren't able to get any traction against them. And what's most disappointing about that is their defense was playing really damn well against the Chiefs and against the Eagles up until that game against the Lions. It looked like they really turned the corner. The pass rush was doing well, but their secondary, which I already had questions about, yeah, they were just getting burned and run all over in that football game. And here I'm very curious to see how the Cowboys offense, which is very good, go against that Brian Flores defense. I do have the Cowboys getting the win here because I think they're just a little bit more of a balanced team. And if the Cowboys pass rush can get after JJ McCarthy and force some mistakes, I think the Cowboys should be able to get this win. The Vikings, like I said, if they're competitive or even if they're able to get this win against the Cowboys, as long as JJ McCarthy looks good, you have something to hold on to. But here, I got the Cowboys getting a win, keeping their very slim playoff chances alive. And if not, well, then they're going to be done for the year. And then finally, this is a game. On Monday Night Football, you got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Dolphins able to knock off the New Jersey Jets this past Sunday and have now won 4 straight games. And who knows, maybe they could even make the playoffs. I don't think they will, but we'll see. Devin Achane got banged up a little bit in that game with a rib injury, but he seems to be okay. And last time I checked, he was day-to-day, as he's been basically their entire offense. It's important that Achane plays in this game as they go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were able to get a win against the Baltimore Ravens. And we even saw some vintage Aaron Rodgers this past Sunday, and he even brought back the discount double check celebration.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
And on the same day that the Packers still own the Bears. It was beautiful. But the Steelers, yeah, that was an ugly-ass game. You could look at the officials and talk about the Isaiah Likely no touchdown. You could talk about the interception, incompletion, whatever the hell it was, catch that Aaron Rodgers made against his helmet. But the most important thing is that the Steelers won this game. And considering that the Steelers nor the Ravens were looking very good heading into this matchup, I don't know if I feel better about either team after that matchup. And taking a look at this game being played in Pittsburgh, I'm going to give a slight advantage to the Steelers here. We'll see which defense actually shows up, and if they're able to stop Achane, or if Achane is prevented from playing, or maybe even if he's limited because of his rib injury. I like the Steelers to take advantage of that. I think the Steelers can move the ball against this Miami Dolphins defense. And so while the Dolphins have been on this hot streak, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to get a win, but I'm picking the Steelers because right now the Dolphins have the 8th worst run defense in the league. And so if the Steelers are able to take advantage of that, I think they're going to be able to win. Let's just see if they have a balanced attack on offense. But Aaron Rodgers on Monday night where the lights are bright, yeah, I got him getting the win. And the Steelers continue to go to the 9-8 bowl. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you got winning this week? Who do you got losing? We only got a few games left, folks, so hold on to them because the playoffs are near. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching, folks. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.